What's up, boys? Today we are highlighting 6 of the fastest growing Y Combinator startups. These AI softwares are blowing up, and today we're going to examine why and some of the cool features about them. And look, on this channel, I'm highlighting a ton of AI news, AI software, AI ideas. And I do it within the context, not just because it's awesome, but within the context of going through a tumultuous time in the world where things are changing all the time. So I hope with these videos you're getting inspired by some of the ideas. Today we're going to be inspired by some Y Combinator ideas, but also looking for gaps in the market because, guys, there's never been a better time to create software. What used to cost tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, super technical coding experience, that's not the reality anymore. And I was watching a podcast the other day with Joe Rogan. He was interviewing the CEO of Replit, which is the software that I use to write software. And basically, he mirrored the sentiment that if you have an idea, you can go to market with a minimum viable product, run some Facebook ads, test it, see if you can get traction. And if you can get traction, if you get users, if you can understand that MVP, that minimum viable product, or that MVS, minimal viable solution, you can figure out if you've got something before really investing money, raising capital, etc. So anyway, today we're going to be talking about 6 to 7 to 8 of several different of the fastest growing AI app ideas. I think you're going to find this really interesting. So again, I hope that you're kind of paying attention and kind of thinking for yourself, because at night I'm sitting on the couch with my wife watching TV, talking, having some quality time, but I'm just writing code in the background, just using my words. Hey, solve this, solve that. And it is unbelievable what you're able to produce at just fractions of pennies. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. If you've never tried Replit before, I strongly recommend it because it's really life-changing stuff. All right, cool. And again, when you're going through a time of great change, great transformations in industry, there are going to be a lot of problems that arise. And that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to find those problems, create minimum viable solutions, and test market so that we can find our $1 million idea, okay? And 9 out of 10 ideas are going to not work, but all you need is that one idea. And that, again, is where AI really, really shines. By reducing the risk, you can go to market much faster and at a much lower cost. And by the way, all of these startups have less than 5 employees. All of these Y Combinator startups have less than 5 employees. They may have some subcontractors they work with to kind of support them, but they have less than 5 employees, which I think is interesting because more people, more problems. Okay, the first program software we're going to look at is called browser use. And essentially what this does is it lets AI agents navigate websites like a human. Now, this idea is a little bit more sophisticated than probably your average person is going to be able to create. But what it's doing is it's leveraging the ability of AI agents, and then you as the user can use it to do all sorts of different things. Okay, it does have $17 million in seed funding by Felicis. It also has a partnership with Paul Graham. So it's got 28,000 daily downloads. A lot of people are using this software. I don't know the exact monetization strategy. It's probably going to be tokenized in some fashion, meaning you're paying for the use, you're paying for the bandwidth. But very, very interesting. There's massive interest from the AI developer community, like you and I. And I think it's really interesting. Browser use has real traction. It started with something minimally viable. Probably started with just like an AI, like how can we give an AI agent better web access to really execute. And if you're not sure what an AI agent is, it's basically an AI software that executes a bunch of commands, but can kind of think for itself, and it will go until it finishes its task. So we won't go tons deep into that in this video, but AI agents is just really spectacular. It kind of changes the way that we operate on the web. The second one here I think is really cool, and I think is worth highlighting. It's called Red Barn Robotics. Red Barn Robotics, and essentially what this is an autonomous weeding robot for farms. Okay, again, this is a little bit complicated. If you don't know how to build a robot, this is going to be hard to do. But what it does highlight is that historically, how do you weed the farms? You have to do it. You have to hire someone to do it. It's expensive. It's back-breaking work. Well, why not just have a robot do it for you. It received a $500,000 funding from Y Combinator with $5 million in letters of intent. And what's interesting here is this weed eater, which is amazing. It cuts 15 times faster than humans at a quarter of the price. If you're a farmer with a big lot, and sometimes I'll drive by some farmland where I see a bunch of cows grazing, I'm like, how do they maintain these huge fields? Robots is what's happening. So I think that's interesting. I was actually in Warsaw, Poland last year, and outside of the, I guess you would call it, it's not the capital, outside of the royal castle, they had little like Roomba style robots cutting the grass. I was in DC last year for a Meta event, and they had robots vacuuming the hallways. So robots are here, they're a big deal. Finding solutions that you can leverage robots, or again, maybe you're not actually building the robots, but you're creating a marketplace where people can connect robots to companies, or maybe you're a sales organization that sells robots. Like you don't, like guys, you don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to be a robotics expert to leverage this trend, because 15 times faster at a quarter of the cost, that's a big deal. And again, you don't necessarily need to swim this current. You can hop on a surfboard and surf this wave, because it's really fascinating. It's really interesting. And I don't know, I think it's worth highlighting. Very, very, very cool. All right, cool. Let's look at the next one. It's called Misprint. Misprint. And again, right now we're highlighting 6 of the fastest growing companies within Y Combinator. Misprint. And what does this do? It's a marketplace for Pokemon and trading cards. 2 employees, they've raised $500,000. And you might be shocked. I was kind of shocked at this. Not completely shocked. I've been in cards and collecting a long time. This market for cards is a $3.5 billion card market. That's aftermarket. $3.5 billion. That's a lot of money exchanging hands. And if you can get a small piece of that, my friends, you're going to be Gucci. And essentially what they call themselves is Robin Hood for Pokemon trading. And you know, it might start, and this is where we talk about minimum viable product. You really niche down, you niche. If you niche just into Pokemon, you could start there, but you can always expand out to other things like sports cards, magic cards, football cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, whatever else type of card there is. But I think this is really interesting, and it infinitely scales out. Yeah, this was made with 2 guys. In, you know, your MVP might be super lightweight. You connect your API to some different card valuation platforms, maybe eBay and stuff. There's different ways that you could kind of sort this out. But what you're doing is you're connecting dots. You're connecting buyers with sellers, and you're taking just a small piece of that transaction. Maybe it's just a 1% piece of that transaction, but infinitely scalable. Super cool idea. I would have never thought to do this. Actually, a friend of mine, Pat Flynn, started a YouTube channel a couple years ago about Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Pokemon cards, and it has exploded. He is doing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views on videos just talking about Pokemon cards and creating these kind of cool videos. It's pretty funny. So anyway, Misprint. I actually love that idea. I think it's super cool. And the riches are in the niches. That's kind of where I'm thinking with MVP. So, and I'll give you an example. I'm working on this blog writing software, and where it automatically creates blogs, and probably when I launch it, it'll be hyper niche to one specific business. It's not going to be like write blogs for your business. It'll be like the #1 blog writer for realtors or something like that, right? The #1 AI blog writer for realtors. So when someone lands on the landing page, they know this is designed specifically for me. So when they land on that landing page, they start using it. The language is specific to that exact avatar. And I think this is so important that you, on your landing pages, this is the marketer in me speaking, that when people land on a landing page, they can immediately identify what it is, why it's important, and if it is for them. If someone has to try to figure out, is this for me? You're going to get more bounces on your web pages, your landing pages, and you're going to create more friction with your desired audience. So again, by specializing and niching down into Pokemon. They've done their market research. They realize that the aftermarket, secondhand market is huge, billions and billions of dollars. They recognize, okay, there's something here. Let's build it out. We build out a strategy. We'll prove minimum viable concept. We'll raise capital, and then we'll run with it. So I just think that's a really cool idea. NextBite, what they do, it's an AI recruiter that finds vibe coders. And if you're saying to yourself, what is a vibe coder? That's kind of exactly what I'm talking about in this video. Vibe coding is essentially writing code, writing software with words. You don't need to actually write in any sort of JSON type of coding language, CSS, et cetera, et cetera. You don't need to write in a coding language. You just use words. The AI writes the script. And again, this is going to be, guys, this market's going to be huge. Even if, let me put it this way. You want to feed your family. You want to be successful. You want to transition and learn new skills in this new age. You might not necessarily even come up with $1 million or $10 million idea. But in the process of building this stuff out and learning how to vibe code and build software, you're going to become much more attractive and much more valuable in the job market. Okay, and again, that's what we want to do on this channel, is highlight the opportunities to survive. The World Economic Forum anticipates 200 million jobs are displaced over the next 5 years. You are probably going to be part of that, and if you're not learning these skills, you're going to be in trouble. So that's one of the problems that NextBite solves. It creates a recruiting site for vibe coders. It has 500,000 in Y Combinator funding, and it's riding the huge wave of AI-assisted hiring. I talked about this a couple of videos ago. I'll put a link here, but there are so many people that are losing their jobs. Finding a way to help those people, I think, is going to be invaluable, especially if you have a software. And I labeled out 5 different minimum viable product ideas. If you like what I'm talking about in this video, you definitely want to check that out. I'll put a link above. So anyway, what it's really cool is it uses an AI. It uses AI to scan code, GitHub, and communication patterns to find different AI vibe coding jobs out there. And it challenges broken hiring systems, like going in for an interview or asking the dean at your college. No, it's not doing that. It's skipping by all that. I think it's really interesting. And NextBite, cool business idea that is scaling quickly. All right, this other idea I think is great too. And I've been really looking at different markets, from healthcare to education, and those are probably 2 of the biggest markets where AI has a chance to really stand out. And this idea really leverages the education part of that. So what is the company? It is called GradeWiz, and GradeWiz is an AI grading assistant for educators. It creates rubric, it grades papers, and it provides feedback. And guys, this is going to save so much time across the board. It has raised 500,000. It's already being piloted at Cornell and Penn State, so it's being battle tested. And this program, GradeWiz, has actively graded over 30,000 assignments. Can you imagine how much time that saves a teacher? That is so much time that the teacher is not grading papers and actually spent engaging with students. And I just think that's a huge win. I'm trying to wrap my head around all the implications as this thing is proven and scaled out. I think there's some good, there's some bad. One of the things I've noted on this idea of AI grading platforms is that sometimes students just feel like they're not getting very good feedback. One of the problems with AI that I've noticed is that AI just really wants to please and has a hard time with constructive criticism, especially on a consistent basis. Like, you might be able to get these AI programs to give you constructive feedback or constructive criticism once, but you might have to continue prompting it to try to get that replication. So I think this is an awesome idea. I think it saves a lot of time, but one of the problems that they're going to need to run into and solve is that. How do I make sure that the ideas are, that the feedback is valuable to the students? Okay, this next idea I think is really cool tool. It's called Pickle. And what is it? It's an AI clone for Zoom meetings. So there's things I like, there's things I don't like, but one of the cool things about this is it's essentially a Zoom assistant that can get on Zoom calls while you're sleeping. So you're a business owner, maybe you're just like we're talking about, you're making an MVP and you want to have like a customer service bot, you want to have a sales bot. This can go on calls and try to close. I have not used this yet. I don't know how great it is. I've got mixed feelings about video. I think that audio is there. Audio is so good. The LLM voice, AI voice is so good. I think is a no-brainer right now. Video is, I'm just starting to come around on. VO3, Google's VO3 was a big turning point for me. And some of the stuff I'm seeing produced, I think is really high quality. I have not tried Pickle yet, but I think it's a really cool idea. They have over 1,500 paying users, and it went super viral on Reddit. That's kind of how it started its growth path. You know, we'll see where this thing goes. But here's the deal. In the marketing world, we're always looking at ways to scale our funnels out and automate our funnels. Always. We want to try to remove friction. And we're also looking at conversions. So the big problem that I would see is, assuming you're using this in sales, or the big question I would have is, well, how well do these AI Zoom assistants from Pickle convert? What is the conversion versus a traditional salesperson versus this type of salesperson? If the conversions are even close, it might be worth scaling, because salespeople are very expensive. They can be inconsistent. But if you could automate this, it would be a big deal. I still think that sales is kind of a tough one to go into, but I think if you were trying to automate this out for like tech support, frequently asked questions, this might feel a little bit more personal than a chat bot. We'll see where it goes. Anyway, I wanted to share these fastest growing Y Combinator startups to get your brain functioning, get your brain thinking. And I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you have a happy 4th of July, all my Americans out there. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.